Hello, I'm Carrie George with CIBN TV, and today I'm sitting here with Evelyn Gwynn from Samet Consulting, and we're going to have an awesome time talking about strategy. So Evelyn, you have a phenomenal little strategy that you've been teaching to some of our members at CIBN about how to write a 9-word email. And I've been getting feedback from all across the network. People have been saying how awesome this is. So can you tell us how to do this?
The 9-word email is a very simple yet effective tool that you can use for following up on dormant, not yet ready, or just on a lead that you've just had that you haven't really had a chance to action. So for example, what you could do is if you're in a lineup and you're talking to someone, or maybe you're at your kid's soccer game and one of your customers, we'll call her Judy, comes up to you and says, Evelyn, I've been thinking about some content for around the holidays. Maybe we should get together and discuss that. And I say, sure, yeah, sounds great. And then, the soccer game happens and we leave and I don't hear from Judy. Now, should I just let that drop? Surprisingly enough, 8 out of 10 small business owners won't follow up after that. They'll just say, oh, she must have chosen someone else. Maybe she changed her mind. But really what we need to do is we need to get that person to say no to us or, agree with us that they've changed their mind. So the 9-word email is perfect for just this kind of situation. So you start off with your subject line. You want that subject line to jump out at Judy. So you could put down something like content for the third quarter or content for the holiday season, anything that's going to grab her attention as she's going through her emails and deciding which one she's going to open.
That was something that we already talked about with Judy too, so she knows that she's waiting to hear about that from you.
Exactly. We're just going to remind Judy, as it were, that we had this conversation. So what we can do then, once she's opened that up, just be really, really informal. Gauge the level of formality with the person that you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. But for Judy, we know her. Our children are in soccer together. So we can say something like, hey, Judy, were you still thinking about that content for the holiday season? And then just sign off. Judy can reach us by replying to that email, or we'll have our contact information in the footer so that she knows exactly where to go. And the beauty of the 9-word email, it's so quick that it is highly likely that Judy's just going to open that up and reply right away. Oh yes, could you please send me your scheduler? We'll make that appointment. And from there, you're free to move on. Now remember that the 9-word email is not about making the sale, and we're just going to keep it really, really brief and to the point. We are looking for the conversation. And that's what we're doing with a 9-word email. We're starting or we're restarting that conversation.
So do you think sometimes when we're talking with people and we're going to send them an email, we're sending them way too much content in that email?
Absolutely. A business-to-business email should never be more than 125 words. We all have busy lives. We all know that we want to get through our emails quickly. Most people will tell you, I know they've told me, I check my emails in between appointments or if I'm waiting at the doctor's office. If I'm standing in the lineup at Safeway, I'll go through my emails really quickly. So we want to give them something that they can manage in that time frame.
I can see how this would work, because if you send a very fast, this is what we're talking about, what do you think, are we doing this or that, nice brief, to the point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know why. I know if I got that in my inbox, I'd be answering that.
Absolutely. And, please remember the most important thing is not to be salesy. You're just restarting that conversation. So even if it's just a yes or no answer, that will suffice. Can I send you my scheduler? Or, let's talk about this a little bit more. Something that they can just say, yeah, that sounds great. Mm-hmm. That's the perfect scenario.
So how important is the subject line on an email?
I think subject line is very important. People are deciding probably in 2 to 3 seconds whether or not they're going to open that email. So you want something that pops out at them, something that's going to say, oh, I need to open this right away. But you don't want to start a panic situation. You want it to be connected to what you're actually talking about inside. I know I've seen really cutesy subject lines that say, your house is on fire, or do you know where your children are? And this is not really effective for a 9-word
Sex
email.
and chocolate.
Yes, this is not really effective.
There's nothing about that.
You want to give a hint of what it is that you have inside that email.
Right.
But make it interesting. We like to call this a whiplash moment.
Right.
If you can come up with a whiplash moment that's related to what's inside the email itself, perfect.
Excellent. So I think if you're getting emails all the time, which many of us do, we're getting bombarded actually with dozens of emails that are inbox every day. I know in my case it's 50 to 100 sometimes in a day are coming in. So you can't read all of these. So this is so important that that thing stands out to you.
That's
Otherwise
right.
you're not going to get to it.
And your first point of contact is that subject line. And that's why that subject line is so important. 4 to 6 words, keep it very brief, but keep it interesting and make sure it's on topic with what's inside that email.
When would you send out more information to this person if you're talking to somebody? When's a good time to be sending out the whole, portfolio that you have for your company?
I talk first before I send the email. So I usually like to do my half an hour strategy call. Inside that half an hour strategy call, I'm able to pinpoint exactly what I will be sending that person in that email, and then I warn them. I said, this will be in the subject line, it will be from me, and inside there is actionable items. I got one just yesterday, and it said, urgent, action required immediately. Did I open it? I did. And inside was urgent and immediate stuff. So you really just drive it by that. Make sure they know what's coming, make sure they understand what you want them to do, and then they'll open it and they'll action it.
I would agree. I know that when we're doing sales appointments with people, we have first of all an exploratory meeting where we're talking about the things that need to be discussed, and then we say we'll follow up with information, and that's where that information comes
That's
in. There's
right.
more of it. But I also know that later on, after we've had that second meeting, if there was a question about getting back together, I've used your 9-word email. It's beautiful.
It works.
It's so fast. It's so quick. It doesn't take a lot of my time as a business
That's right.
owner.
That's right.
And it doesn't take a lot of their time on the other end. And it's just a yes or a no, or I'm doing it right now, or anyways,
Yeah.
we get a response and we know where we're at from it.
People appreciate that, and they learn to depend on that too. So that if they know that your emails are on point and that they need their attention, they will get used to just opening your stuff up right away, and you will always have those answers when you need them.
Excellent. So you do a lot of other things with emails.
Yes.
In fact, you strategize and teach your clients about emails. What other kinds of emails do you encourage your clients to use?
Well, we actually have a follow-up program. So if you're uncomfortable with email, we have other strategies that can be used as well. So I really like to put a package that's individually tailored to that person. So it might be a combination of an email sequence and 9-word emails and the short emails. It might also be that we're doing LinkedIn strategies or phone strategies. Cold calling is not dead. We like to do the warm calls, but cold calling is not dead either. So really, I try to match the follow-up process with the person.
Right.
Because we know if we don't like what we have to do, we will find 1,000 other things that need to be done right now.
Right, and there are some people who don't like to send emails or don't like to receive them. I've met people who told me, Carrie, I'd rather that I talk to you on the phone because anything I put down in print or email or text could be taken the wrong way. And I personally don't feel like that. I feel like I can get myself across when I'm, using writing, right?
Yes.
But not everybody feels like that. Some
No.
people feel like they're going to be misinterpreted.
That's right. A lot of people really enjoy making the phone calls. I have one client every day, Monday through Friday. She gets on that phone for 2 hours, and that's her relaxation. That's equal to watching television for her. She loves to speak to people. She loves to show how she can help them. And when I look at her and say, well, what about, let's try some email, let's mix it up a little bit, she's like, why would I do that? Email is so slow. I've got them right on the other line. So I really tailor my packages to the person.
Right.
You have to love what you're doing in order to make yourself do it.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about email sequences and how they work.
Okay, so if you have something, a course or an offering that you want to build up, we like to put the email sequences together. So what we will do is we will find your customers. Always be careful with email, they have to agree. So we'll find your customers that have agreed to receive these emails, and we'll send out an introductory email where we just introduce you and your product or service, whatever you're doing. I like to combine that with something that they can download. So maybe a PDF, a checklist, whatever works for you. Maybe something that they can just read as quickly while they're deciding. But I like to have that there so that it gives them a reason to come back, and it gives us a reason to send another email. After about a week or so, we'll send a second email. We'll offer that PDF. We'll remind them that this thing, whatever it is, a course, whatever we're doing, is coming up. We'll remind them of the dates, and we'll ask them to opt in that second email. From the second email, we will send a postcard. People like to get stuff in the mail, so we'll send the postcard. We'll remind them of the events. If they haven't signed up yet, we'll have information there for them to be able to go online or to phone and sign themselves up. From the postcard, then now we're getting a little bit closer to the date, so I usually like to send a little blurb, a little quote, a little something that they're going to be getting. So if it's a course on email sequences, we'll have a little quote from someone who uses email sequences, and just to get them thinking, to get them excited about the event. From that point, then they'll have another chance in an email to opt in, to come to the package. And at that point, if we're giving something, a book or something, we may give them a chapter from the book, just to kind of build that interest and peek them out. Make sure that they're getting themselves in there and they know the dates and everything is happening. And from there, by that time, they should have signed up, because now we're about 2 weeks out from the event. Once they've signed up, somewhere in the middle of that, we'll send them their welcome letter and their welcome package for people who have gone ahead now and opted in. Give them everything that they need to know in that, where the parking, what kind of clothing they should wear. If there's going to be a lunch, we'll send them a menu with the lunch so that they can decide what they'd like to eat, just to kind of build up that excitement. The final one will be the jazzy one. There might be a little bit of a sizzle video in there if it's a special speaker or a special event that maybe from last year, so that they can see what it's going to be like. I like to show lots of action, lots of excitement in those around that, so that builds up the excitement for us. And then the final one comes through about a day before, maybe 24 hours before, just in case they've forgotten that they've signed up for this. And usually I'll give them a little something in that last one. Free drink ticket is really popular. They can print that off, or they can bring in their invitation and get it given to them at the door. It's something to kind of build that excitement and let them know who's going to be there and what's happening.
Excellent.
Okay.
So Evelyn, a lot of people are apprehensive about sending email. They are afraid of sending too many, or not sending enough, or sending the wrong kind of information, or when's the right time to start, or maybe I should put it off till later. Have you found that?
I have found a hesitancy there. Yes, people are afraid of that. But I was reading a recent study that said that 69% of millennials want to know who they're dealing with before they ever open that door to that business or make that first contact. So they're the people that like to read your emails, they like to go to your website, they like to check your social media content. So really, these people can't get enough of you. They want to feel like they know you before they actually come in and do business with you. So I don't think that that's a possibility. Also, we have the opt-out email at the bottom of every email. I always have an opt-out clause. So if people are feeling like they're getting a little bit too much email from you, they are always more than welcome to just click on that button. And I usually, when people do that to me, I usually reach out to them via the phone or something, just to find out exactly what it is. If you do that enough time, then you can actually get your own study. You have your own results of why people feel it's too much, or what is actually too much. So I think that we're protected. I think as long as you're following your opt-outs and keeping your stuff interesting, making sure that it's out there, it adds value to their day, I don't think there's too much contact.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because we have a very large email list with CIBN, and we sometimes feel like, well, maybe we're sending too much email, and we have a few people leave, and we've done exactly that. We've called some of them and said, so just following up, wondering why you chose to leave our email communications. And oftentimes it had nothing to do with that at all.
Absolutely.
In fact, it was, I'm planning to move. I won't be in the community anymore. Sometimes it's things like, Well, I get so many emails, and it's not just yours. I actually cleaned out about 40 different ones all at the same time. But now that you called me, I think I'll add you back.
That's right.
I've had that actually happen.
And I've had people say to me too, something I would never have thought, but they've accidentally signed up for what I have under 2 email addresses, and they're actually getting double.
I've seen that one as well.
So they'll come back and they'll say, really, I love your stuff. It's just that I didn't want to get it twice.
Exactly.
So I just picked one and I unsubscribed on that one.
Yeah. I know we've often thought too, if we send too many, maybe we'll lose a lot, but we watch our numbers all the time, and we generally gain 3 to 4 times as many people in a month than we lose in that month. So we might lose 4 or 5. Sometimes a very active month we might lose 12, but that same month we've gained 30, 40 people joining the email list.
Really the key is to add value. If you're sending out emails and people feel that they're learning or gaining something from your emails, or if you're keeping them up on community events or whatever it is that they're getting, if they're feeling that you're fulfilling that role and fulfilling that need for them, they're going to be fine.
Evelyn, I'm just wondering, how do you get people to sign up for your email list?
I do 20-minute talks. So, I mean, in some places we call them lunch and learns.
Right.
But I do the 20-minute talk. So I go to different, like places like CIBN, networking groups, and some of the banks also have entrepreneurial days where you can go and talk. And I just give the 20-minute talks, and I have these postcard size things that they can fill out, and they can just add themselves to my email list. I also have places on my website where they can sign up, so they opt in, they self-select.
Right.
Yep. And from time to time, it's just word of mouth. So someone keeps forwarding me your stuff, and I like it. So what do I have to do? I have to take your PDF? What do I have to do to get on your email list?
Right.
Yeah.
I found it's really important on your website to have a place where people can sign up, but I never put something like sign up for my email list.
No, I always give them something.
Yeah. Yes. Sign up for my top 10 of this, or the 3 ways to do that, or my newsletter that will give you event listings, or something like that.
That's absolutely. And that content, you can change that out every 3 months if you want to. And you just get people there, become visible, and they'll choose you. And as long as you're providing the value, they'll keep following you.
That's excellent.
I've recently added a new program to my outreach program, and it's called Selling and Speaking from the Stage. And I have just written a 4-article series on this, and I'm going to turn that series into a program much like our Thought Leadership program. And I think it's going to be online, and I think it's going to be super interesting. And one of the good things about speaking and selling from the stage is, instead of having to make out that outreach individually, it doesn't matter which method you use, if you're cold calling, emailing, or using social media, it's really just one-to-one. The wonderful thing about speaking and selling from the stage is it's one-to-many. So you could go ahead and you could do a stage appearance once a month and still have the same amount of feedback and prospects available to you as if you were on that phone for 2 hours every day doing outreach.